it's over. The Dubai Real Estate Index is down 25% over the past 30 days. And it's not the only sign that the Dubai property market is coming to an end. There have been news articles, reports, and social media posts reporting a correction. But on the other side of the debate, real estate agents are telling us that dozens of record-breaking deals have happened right after the conflict started. So, who is right? Both sides are making pretty absurd claims. So to get a real picture of the current situation, we need to start with a real estate index crash. And this part is real. DFM real estate index has indeed dropped by 30% after the war started. Now it bounced back a bit, and now it's down 25% compared to what we had a month ago. The thing is that this index has nothing to do with the property prices in Dubai. It's a stock market index on the Dubai financial market. It tracks listed real estate companies, not property prices. So the key drivers of this index are stock prices of publicly traded Dubai developers, companies like Emaar, Union Square, and DR. This drop reflects investor sentiment towards these developers' business. And for uncertain times, it's a natural market reaction that doesn't show the housing market dynamics. But DLD-registered property transactions should show the market dynamics, right? The issue with all those huge deals is that they happened before the conflict started. Let's say you're buying an off-plan property. On week 1, you sign the reservation form and make the booking payment. Then you need to pay the DLD fee and the down payment, and it will take you 1 or 2 more weeks. Then developer issues a sales and purchase agreement, and you need to sign it, and the developer needs to sign that, and this part is the longest one. It can easily take from 4 to 8 weeks, sometimes even longer. And only after that you get the Akut certificate. And this is the moment when the transaction gets to the DLD database. So it's a pretty long journey. It takes from 4 to 12 weeks and sometimes takes even longer. For ready properties it's much faster, but still it's not a matter of a few days. So many big transactions agents are talking about now actually happened a few months ago. But even now there is some data that gives a good indication of what's going on with the Dubai real estate market. Let me walk you through the analysis we made, and we'll see some early indications that will help us answer several important questions. Are the prices falling? Are there many distressed deals? Which areas have already felt the slowdown? Did the rental demand drop? And how developers react to the current situation? And let's start with the dataset that gives us a clue about what's going on before the transactions got into DLD, and even before the transactions were made. Let's look at listings. Because listings on platforms like Property Finder or Bayut, they feel all the changes pretty quickly. First, let's look at sales listings volume. So what we did, we took all the listings since December 1st up until now. So we covered 2 weeks after the conflict has started. These weeks are highlighted in red. The 4 weeks before that, we use them as the benchmark, as a comparison period. So we'll be analyzing what's happening now with what happened during the 4 weeks before the conflict. Apartments have the largest share of the market, so let's start with them. During the last 2 weeks, we saw between 3 and more than 5,000 apartments listings. That's within the normal range, which is between 2 and 7,000. For villas we see a slight decline, roughly 10% less listings than normally, and for offices we see a big drop. During the last 2 weeks we saw from 30 to 60 listings per week versus normal range 100 to 200 listings per week. So what does this data tells us? Why do we bother to analyze it? First, the decrease in number of listings means that investors are waiting. Many of those who wanted to sell postponed their decision. Because if they have good units and no financial pressure, why would they sell in uncertain times like this? On the contrary, if the number of listings goes up, it indicates that people are panic selling, and we don't see any signs of that right now. But we were talking about the ready market. Now let's talk about off-plan properties. Because off-plan investors, they also can sell. They can do that after they reach a certain percentage of the price paid. But listings for off-plan properties basically tell us the same story. Apartments are in the normal range, villas are slightly down, offices are down significantly. Then we went further and we broke down all the listings into areas, segmented them by areas, And almost all Dubai areas, they're in the normal range for both ready and off-plan properties. By the way, if you want to take more time to analyze the data I'm showing you, you can drop us a message on WhatsApp and we'll share the same presentation I'm showing you right now. This presentation also contains listing prices breakdown, so let's make a deep dive into that. This chart shows the dynamics of ready listings prices: apartments, villas, and offices. And the data is consistent across all three segments. All of them are in the normal range, now off-plan listings. And the trend is also the same across all three property types. The reason why we look into this data is that it could help us identify if there is panic selling in Dubai. But the fact that average listing prices are in the normal range indicates that there is no massive distress selling. I'm sorry, I know that everybody loves distressed deals, and there were rumors that Dubai is flooded in distressed real estate. That's simply not true, at least at the overall market average level. But I have a hint for all the distress seekers. What we've analyzed now are just averages. Now let's break them down into different areas. And there are certain areas where average prices now, over the past couple of weeks, are lower compared to the pre-conflict period. Take a closer look at Creek Harbor and maybe downtown, GBT, and Dubai Hills. There is no big drop though, roughly a 5% difference. Next slide, off-plan sales listings. And what's interesting here, that almost all the areas that show the decline, they are kinda touristic areas. Business Bay, downtown, Dubai Marina. Again, there is no big drop compared to the pre-war period, and it doesn't mean that you'll easily find massive distressed deals. Most likely you won't, but if you want to search for them, these are the places where you could start. Listings are not the only early indicators that we can trust. There are actually some transactions registered by DLD that we can also take into account. And I'm talking about rental transactions. Because with rental contracts, there is no long process until they get into DLD database. First thing we should look at is rental volume. Let's start with renewed rental contracts. This chart shows the number of renewed rental contracts for apartments, villas, and offices. What we can see here is that there was a small dip on the first week and a substantial increase on the second week. Given that the second week compensated the first week, there are no changes for the market. And we see the same if we segment transactions by areas. Almost all of them experienced a slowdown in the first week and a significant growth on the second week. But if we take a look at new contracts, then we see some changes. This chart shows the number of all new rental contracts in Dubai for apartments, villas, and offices. And you've probably noticed that apartments are out of range. It used to be roughly 4,000 to 5,000 new contracts per week. Now it's in between 3.4 and 3.8 thousand new contracts per week. So there is a decline, and this is an unfortunate consequence of flights restriction and not positive population growth dynamics. We see this trend across different areas, so landlords indeed feel additional pressure because of the current situation. I have to notice though that deals are still happening. The number of new contracts haven't decreased to zero. But one of the insights we're getting from this is that off-plan investors who are looking to get their properties handed over soon most likely will have to decrease their prices compared to what they could be before the war started. We can't say that prices are dropping based on the recent transactions data though. Yeah, if you look at this chart, you can see that villas average rental prices have gone down significantly. But I wouldn't draw any conclusions based on that, because just a handover of a townhouse cluster of new cheap homes would result in a graph like this, especially given that we see no changes for apartments and offices. Now when we discuss sales listings and rental transactions, let's talk about off-plan launches. And what I want to show you here is the number of new off-plan projects launched in Dubai. We don't count registered projects, because they can be registered but not really launched. We took into account new projects the developers started selling, or if they started accepting expressions of interest, we counted them too. So on week 1 after the war started, we had 11 new launches. On week 2, we had 12. It's slower compared to what we saw before, but it's still a substantial number of new projects. We'll see even fewer next week, because Ramadan has just ended, and there is a big public holiday in the UAE. Most developers are not really working right now. But we talked to many developers, and overall, almost all of them are gonna launch more and more projects in the coming weeks. They are not stopping, at least for now. Several big launches are coming. Emaar is launching a new phase in Dubai South and a new project in Emaar beachfront. Binghadi is launching their townhouses soon. There is a super interesting project coming to Dubai Islands. An amazing office concept coming to Motor City. So there is a lot of going on here. We can't show any data for this, but we see that some developers are becoming slightly more open to price negotiation. So if you were looking for potential improvements of financial terms, it's time to start exploring the opportunities. And if you want to learn more how to navigate the market uncertainty, check out this video.